Hello world, top secret US nuke locations have been leaked due to an embarrassing error. Amazon is turning on a spooky new feature and you only have a few days left to opt out. And UK police raid an illegal Bitcoin mine, by mistake. That's in today's episode of The Week Web, where we break down and dissect cybersecurity related tech news. This first story is going to sound like an April Fool's joke, but I can assure you it is not April and neither of us are fools. The security of America's nuclear arsenal is rather important, and I imagine is generally taken pretty seriously. However, all of this has been thrown into doubt, and it's almost funny. In particular, this concerns the nukes the US keeps in Europe. America keeps a few nuclear weapons in various European countries. It's always been controversial because many Europeans don't like nukes. But anyway, you see, storing nukes is a complicated business. Soldiers are expected to memorize a lot of acronyms, procedures, laws, etc. A handful of these soldiers on US bases in Europe took it upon themselves to aid in their learning by using websites like Quizlet. Quizlet is a site for making flashcards. Idea being, you type up the things you need to learn and then test yourself later, like a mini self-quiz. The problem here is that Quizlet and similar sites used by soldiers set all flashcards to public by default, meaning anyone can find them on the internet. Researchers at Bellingcat uncovered many such flashcards have been out in the wild, publicly searchable since 2013. The information these flashcards were found to comprise is as follows: exact locations of vaults which contain nukes, positions of security cameras and their thermal imaging capabilities, details on the frequency of patrols around vaults, and secret duress words, among other things. It wasn't hard for researchers to find these flashcards. As Bellingcat explains, all they had to do was search for terms publicly known to be associated with nuclear weapons. By simply searching military-related jargon, they found these flashcards on platforms such as Chegg, Quizlet, and Cram. The researchers did some pretty impressive investigatory research to verify the authenticity of these flashcards. They cross-referenced one of the flashcards which detailed the location of US nukes stored in the Netherlands, with a group photo they found on a soldier's Facebook account. The group photo contained certain flags, which confirmed this US base was in the Netherlands. Certain markings on the ground and landmarks matched up with satellite imagery, confirming the exact location this photo was taken. The image itself shows soldiers posing with a B-61 thermonuclear gravity bomb. It's very unlikely that this is a live bomb. That would have been an even more epic security blunder. So given this is only a training bomb, the vault behind it would be a cold site, in that it doesn't contain nukes. The flashcard confirms this particular vault is cold and doesn't house live weapons. The researchers have blacked out the other vaults, some of which are hot. In addition, just a few days after reaching out to the US Department of Defense for comment, these flashcards mysteriously disappeared from the interwebs, so it's safe to say these flashcards were legit. This is probably one of the worst examples of OPSEC I've ever come across. You can only imagine how useful this would have been to bad actors, as long as they had the motivation to do something with the info, of course. It's also pretty embarrassing, and in particular could create problems for local politicians, who could previously just deny knowledge of nuke locations to avoid being dragged into some kind of debate about it. This video is sponsored by you, maybe. A few people have reached out to me telling me how much they enjoy this new Week Web series and asking if I have a Patreon or something similar, so I've set up YouTube memberships on the channel, which is a direct way to help support the content I make. If you would like to throw a few bones my way, I'd of course be greatly appreciative. You even get a cool satanic logo next to your name in the comments, as well as priority comment reply from myself. You literally can't buy it elsewhere. If you're not in the position to though, a cheeky like and notification toggle goes a long way, as does sharing the video with a friend, co-worker, your nan, dog, and any other life forms you happen to be acquainted with. Amazon is turning on a scary new feature on June 8th. Amazon Sidewalk, as it's being called, links all Amazon Echoes and Ring doorbells into a kind of network. Amazon announced this controversial feature way back in 2019, so they will have been working on it for some time. This network allows your Amazon devices to share your internet connection with randos. Idea being, if for whatever reason your Ring doorbell or Echo loses connection to your router, it can simply connect to your neighbor's Amazon device and use their internet connection as a backup. Amazon says for each device they'll only use 80 kilobytes per second and 500 megabytes per month. Other third parties are able to use this service. For example, Tile. If your lost Tile enters the range of an Echo, you'll be pinged with the location of the device. This service is similar to Apple's Find My network, which, as I recently discussed, has its own issues. If this whole concept sounds a little spooky, it gets worse. Amazon is making this an opt-out feature, meaning it'll be turned on by default for all compatible devices on June 8th. This isn't too surprising though. For this network to gain the critical mass it needs in order for it to be useful, Amazon need it to be on by default, though thankfully opting out is as simple as flicking a setting in the Alexa app. However, of course, the less technically apt among us won't have any idea what they're being automatically signed up to, and it won't come as much of a shock that people are a little worried about Sidewalk. Security and privacy issues come to mind. To Amazon's credit, they have at least realized this is going to cause problems and have released a white paper specifically addressing these concerns. Amazon claims they're minimizing metadata they receive, making sure not to procure any data other than what's necessary to implement the service. They go on to explain that Sidewalk will use 3 layers of encryption, one for each time data passes from one layer of the network to another. And in fairness, I've read quite a few different perspectives of what this new service means for privacy and security. No one seems able to point to one specific glaring hole in Amazon's plan here. But then again, whilst being detailed, this is at the end of the day just a 13-page white paper. The actual technology is closed source, so there's no possibility of outside scrutiny. The issue is, wireless technologies are often insecure. In a previous video, I discussed new Bluetooth vulnerabilities. In another one from a couple weeks back, I talked about vulnerabilities in Wi-Fi that went undetected for more than 20 years. As Ars Technica puts it, if industry-standard wireless technologies have such a poor track record, why are we to believe that a proprietary wireless scheme will have one that's any better? This is the real concern. After all, we're not talking about just another potentially insecure IoT light bulb here. Oh no, hacker's gonna turn off my lights, shock horror. I'm kidding, slightly. Well, I know that even IoT light bulbs are an entry point to the rest of your network, and that there are a litany of DDoSing IoT botnets out there, etc., but in reality, a light bulb isn't a home security product like a Ring doorbell is, nor is it a device which listens to your every word like an Amazon Echo is. The repercussions of Sidewalk devices somehow going rogue are much worse, and the chances of that only increase when allowing random devices to connect is a feature and not a bug. Though of course it's obviously in Amazon's best interest to keep this as secure as possible, and I'm sure they've put a lot of effort into security. All I'm saying is that at minimum you probably don't want to be an early adopter. This is rolling out in America first, no word yet on when it will come to the rest of the world, though luckily opting out is quite easy. Make sure to let me know down in the comments what you think of Sidewalk, especially if you're cool with it. Why? UK police had a bit of a surprise when they raided what was assumed to be a Lucifer's lettuce grow operation. Using a police drone equipped with thermal imaging cameras, a large amount of heat was detected emanating from a roof of a warehouse situated just outside of Birmingham. This is usually a typical sign of a herb farm because lighting used for growing gives off a ton of heat. There were also a lot of people randomly going in and out of the building, another sign something wasn't right. Though upon raiding the building, there was no broccoli in sight. Instead, police found about 100 of what appear to be ant miners, which are ASIC Bitcoin miners. This explains the heat, as they don't run cool. Also, it appears that the electricity meter had been bypassed, meaning that the miners were running on free fuel. When it comes to crypto mining, the main cost, other than the equipment itself, is the electricity used, which is why many pro miners set up near power sources like hydroelectric dams with the promise of cheaper electricity. I'm no mining expert, though these look like Antminer S9s. It also does say so on the label. If we take that at face value and assume these are the 2016 models, then they're mining at 11.5 terahashes per second. Each one makes about $1,000 a year, excluding electricity of course, so if you've got 100 of them, then you're raking in 100k a year. Obviously though, this doesn't take into account the volatility of Bitcoin, which can work either for you or against you. If you're looking for something to watch next, my video on the recently discovered Wi-Fi vulnerabilities which went undetected for over 20 years goes some way to shedding light on the issue of wireless technologies. If you haven't liked the video yet, make sure to smash that button. For behind the scenes footage, do follow me on the Instagrams. As always, sources will be linked in the description. Stay tuned for more hacking videos and have a good one.